storage part of my closet in my room. I remember I had this toy that would play nursery rhymes. I would turn it up as loud as it would go just to drown out the sounds that were coming from downstairs.
The unfortunate thing is that closed doors only blocks out the action, maybe the words, but not the way the parents are feeling.
Mom! Dad! I made tea!
Maybe the child will see the hitting, the kicking, the pushing, but maybe there'll be none of that the child sees. Maybe the child will see broken objects, bruises on a parent's face, but maybe the child won't see any of that. But what the child will see in all situations, angry faces and frightened faces and sad faces. Infants very early, within the first days of life, orient to the face. By 6 months of life, they recognize the difference between a happy face, an angry face, and a sad face. So from infancy on up, they are taking in information about what's going on in the house, even if they do not see it. They might hear hitting, they might hear screaming, they might hear threatening, but maybe none of that is in their hearing. But they will hear tone of voice. When we're angry, when we're scared, our vocal cords tighten and the tone comes out differently, and we can't change that.
Man!
Oh, how was the soccer tryout?
Oh, they were pretty good. There's lots of kids there. I made the team at least.
So the child has this experience of anger and fright and sadness, both that they take in visually and that they hear. So all of this creates fear and anger inside the child. And it reverberates around the brain and around the autonomic nervous system. In the middle of the brain is an area called the amygdala. This is the fear-anger center, and it reacts whenever a child is hurt or frightened. This area of the brain does not know how to think. It only reacts. We are programmed for survival, the flight or fight response. So the amygdala sends messages through the body to prepare it for the danger it is experiencing. When these messages reach the adrenal glands, they release cortisol, the stress hormone, which rushes through the body and back up to the brain, warning of danger and reigniting the amygdala, and taking energy away from the frontal lobes where thinking needs to happen. The thinking that could calm the child or help the child solve the problem is less likely to happen. In all homes, homes with violence or homes without violence, there will be times of stress, and the amygdala will be aroused. In homes without violence, the parent figure will intervene to calm and reassure the child. The child is soothed by rocking and careful attending. The older child is soothed by talking about what has happened and how the situation is going to be solved. Activities like breathing, singing, or reading together help soothe the child. These soothing activities allow the regulatory part of the forebrain to send calming messages to the amygdala and bring its activity back to normal levels. The more the child is soothed, the more good networks to the amygdala are built, and the child develops its own system to self-regulate. When there is less experience of soothing, as happens in homes with violence, those areas of the brain that are important for calming are used less. They're activated less. They develop less. So you have this child who has an oversensitized arousal system and an underdeveloped soothing system. The amygdala becomes hypersensitive. It can activate very quickly, and smaller events can set it off. Mirror neurons are motor neurons in many different areas of the brain that fire when we see somebody else do something, which means that when a child sees somebody hitting another person, they have a neuron in their brain that is firing for hitting, just as if they themselves were doing it. The child is, in effect, getting practice at doing it, so that that child, who as he or she grows up says, I will never be like my parents, unless they have done some really careful work, will find themselves behaving the same as their parents, because their mirror neurons have already learned that behavior. When there is domestic violence, it is something which becomes very consuming for parents because it's not what they want. It's not that peaceful family that they had in their dreams. And as they become more and more activated in their own systems, their own amygdalas, their own cortisol response, they are less and less able to soothe the child.
I remember my mother crying a lot. I didn't really know what to think about it. It frightened me. I wanted to comfort her. I tried. But as I got older, I got angry. I thought, isn't she the one that's supposed to be comforting me?
So they may still be sitting with the child, they may still be reading with the child, but very often their minds are off somewhere else. What am I going to do when my partner comes home? How am I going to respond? How am I going to keep my child safe? All of these really important thoughts, but children know when parents aren't there. They're physically, but not there mentally.
My parents were completely absorbed and taken up with their abusive relationship. They completely forgot about me.
When parents are busy, whether they're busy with violence, whether they're busy with work, whether they're busy with their own internal distress, children feel lost. And so there are many different things that kids do. Usually, they try to please. And then they become quite angry and aggressive, and then they give up.
At first, I tried to be very good. I thought that if I was the model child, that maybe they would notice me, love me.
Mom! Mom?
but it didn't work. I then started to get very angry. I felt tense all the time. I started acting up at home, at school. I was the worst kid.
When there is violence in the house, the child system goes up, up, up. Now, when anyone says we can't do something or somebody corrects our behavior, we always go into a little bit of negativity. And that's normal. But if the child you see is set at this higher level because of the ongoing tension in the house, then that little bit of negativity,
I don't think that's what you're supposed to be drawing. Kind of dumb.
puts them up over the top and they explode.
What's going on? Hey, Tasha, you're ruining your word. Tasha.
Now, for some children where the system is agitated, there is a point to which our systems can't go. And so our systems close down and go into freeze or they dissociate. And as they continue to deal with the world, they protect themselves with dissociation.